Hello Yukiko, konnichiwa. I want to go back a bit to when we first met on Lord Street in Liverpool. When I met you, I was looking for a way to build an ideal world. And when you asked me to go back to the office, that's why I went. I did not go because you were a beautiful girl and I fancied you, but I went to build and I build a better world. And then when we first met, we both had lots of love for each other and lots of beauty in our relationship. But as the weeks went by, you never explained to me how to build a better world. And to me, this was the most important thing. And I was stupid. I was shy. I didn't ask you. I should have asked you. So the relationship fell down at that point. And then being naughty and thinking, how can I get into live in a centre like Yukiko, which I felt nervous about. I felt nervous and anxious about my future. I decided to seduce you, and that was wrong, and you left me. When I saw you in Frankfurt and I returned to England, I fasted for 3 days on hitchhiking all the way back to England, and when I got to Liverpool, I did not go to the centre. I could have gone to the centre, and maybe you expected me to go there. But I went to an ex-member's house called Steve Buckley, and he had a flat in Waterloo, which is where the centre was. And he had a spare room, and he put me up there for the night. And that night, I decided that I wasn't going to join the family, and I wasn't going to follow you any longer. I decided to do my own thing, because when I was a young lad doing mathematics in school and I had a mathematical problem, when I couldn't get the answer, I decided that I would scrap everything that I'd written down and start from scratch, make a complete fresh start. And this is what I decided to do with the family. So I abandoned you. I didn't want to join the church. I thought these guys are a bunch of idiots and I want to try and study and understand what's going wrong. That night I went to sleep, and a very, very, very powerful Oriental female spirit had sex with me, raped me. I didn't understand what was happening. I had no choice in it. It was very, 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 very powerful. I think this spirit was sent by God to protect me, and she became my spirit guide. So I went to London and decided to make a complete fresh start. But all the able figures in London wouldn't give me a complete fresh start. They seem to have all been briefed by you. And Mr. Abbey, who was giving instructions for my care, never even met me, never sat down and had a conversation with me. And it drove me up the wall. I hated you for it. I hated the able figures, and I hated the church. And I didn't see them as able type at all, and I turned to my spirit guide. So my spirit guide was Oriental and female, and I became very, very, very high-minded. And in an Oriental country, I might have been respected, but in London, with the London church and my own family, mum and dad, they thought I was mentally ill, and they had me put in a mental hospital. In the mental hospital, I was put on extremely, extremely, extremely powerful drugs by an injection. And this brought me down to their level, to a Western level. And I became sane again, and I thought I'd made a mistake. So that's what happened. And then I was discharged on that medication into the community. I went to live with mum and dad, and I went back to work because the church abandoned me. The church wouldn't even let me attend a Sunday service any longer. And you abandoned me. So I went back to work. This situation went on for years. And it was horrible. It was like going the way of the cross. The medication was so powerful, I just felt suicidal. It was awful. And then the medication changed to a tablet that was more modern. And then I could start to think more clearly. I didn't have the side effects that I had. Then God spoke to me. And God gave me the answers that I was looking for. So the answers that I was looking for is that God is a duality. So there are two ways to know God. There's the way of beauty and the way of love. These are explained in detail on my website. If you have a look, you can read about it. But I'll try to explain very briefly here. The way of beauty is that when God created Adam and Eve, they were created in his image, and therefore they were beautiful because he saw an image of himself, and therefore he could not help but give them love. But when they fell and sinned, they became ugly. So this is our situation now. We're now ugly to God. So to receive God's love, we have to see our sin, repent it, and ask for forgiveness, and then God can love us. And this is the teaching of Christianity, and it is the Western way. And it's a deeply rooted mind and body unity, individual purpose, Western way, deeply rooted, and that's the Western way. So what is the way of love? Well, God made man with the potential for man to give love to God. So if a man makes an offering for world peace, for example, and with 100% effort and an unconditional heart, God can see that offering as being pure and then return love to that man. And this is the Oriental way of loving God. And it's the high-minded way of purposeful whole, way of love type love. So there's these two different types of relating to God. One's Western, one's Oriental. And this explains everything. It explains my mental illness. It explains why I couldn't get on with my able figures. It explains the different religions in the world, Christianity and Islam and the Oriental religions. And it explains a way to unite them all together. So to grow to perfection, we actually have to be successful at both these types of relating to God, the way of beauty and the way of love. To grow to perfection, we have to become experts in both. And that's my project at the moment. I do think a lot of the church leaders are a bunch of idiots. I do think I shouldn't have followed you. I should have followed my heart and looked for a way to build a better world. And I do think I've made a lot of mistakes. I do think it's important to speak up when you're not comfortable. And now I feel I am sane and I have a lot of the answers and I have a way for God to build a better world. And that's my situation at the moment. So it's 2021, a new year. There's a raging pandemic throughout the world. In the UK, it's really bad. There's a new variant and it's spreading like mad. There's complete lockdown here. All the shops are shut. Pubs and cafes are shut. And this is now a time, I think, for God to assert himself in the world. And I want to do my bit. Thank you, Yukiko. Thank you for all your love and all your prayers. And all the best to you and Susumu and your children. Cheers. Bye-bye.